Hello and welcome to Selling in a Skirt with Judy Hoberman. I'm Judy. If you're here for the first time, welcome. And if you're here for many times with me, welcome back. Selling in a Skirt is all about connection, community, and creating amazing relationships. We get to empower professional women and encourage men to both advocate, champion, and sponsor women. Now, what I love most about what I get to do is introduce you to incredible women and men. And today is definitely no exception. So it is my great pleasure to introduce you to my very special guest today, Stephanie Hoberman. Stephanie is the Regional Sales Manager for Brighton Collectibles. I'm going to read just a little. She's a sales leader, an amazing woman, determined, impactful, an amazing friend, and a relationship builder. She says her top skills are leadership, strategic thinking, customer interaction, outside sales, and management. Now, there's so many other ways that I can describe her because I've known her before she was born. She's a delight, she's intelligent, she's funny, and she is my daughter. So welcome, Stephanie. I'm so excited to have you here. I can't wait for everybody to get to know you.
So I don't really know where to start, and I guess the best place would be the beginning. And I mean, obviously, I was born to this wonderful person. She has led me to believe that I'm an amazing woman, and really it all goes back to probably her. But when I was in high school, I definitely did not want to be in sales. I was not interested in relationship building. I loved my friends and I loved socializing, but I really wanted to be an orthodontist, which looking back on that now is very strange. I went through my first semester of college and I did not go to parties. I did not go out doing all the things that college students did. I studied, I went to tutoring, and I was miserable. I could not even pass anything to save my life. So I switched my major and here we are. But I've loved fashion since I was a kid. I've loved playing dress up. I'm not a typical girly girl, but I really do like to put fun outfits together. And that, with my love of people, just kind of snowballed into the fashion industry. I had no idea of where I wanted to go when I graduated from college, but I knew I wanted to go to New York. And so I got a job in a women's silk knitwear company. I was a what is it called? An
A rep?
administrative
Oh,
assistant. No,
okay.
I was like a helper. And I had a boyfriend at the time that lived in LA and knew a lot of famous people. So I asked him for a bunch of addresses. And this is 1999. So I'm sitting at the fax machine, faxing him addresses, and he's faxing me back, or requests and faxing me back addresses. And I started a PR program and I really was bored just sitting there every day. And finally they said to me, like, if we had a sales position for you, we would give it to you. Here's some money, take 3 months off and go find a sales job. And so I did, and I haven't stopped since. And I've grown from, I went corporate, then multi-line, and then I went corporate again, and I've kind of stayed corporate the whole time. And here we are at Brighton.
So you've had a lot of different experiences in a lot of different areas of fashion. And I know that when Brighton came to, the opportunity came to you, you were so excited. And we were all so excited for you. And as soon as you said, yes, we're doing this. So tell me what it's like to be with a company like Brighton Collectibles, because some of the companies you worked for you loved, and some were like, yeah, not so much. But you seem to be so excited and so happy. So tell us about that.
I think I'm most excited because it's the hardest job I've ever had, but it's incredibly rewarding. And I have to remind myself that I've only been there for 5 months, just a little over 5 months, and that I don't know anything about this job. And every other job, it is a sales job. You go to work, you sell things, and you go home. You go to market, you sell things, you go home. Here it is like your life is Brighton. People that have been at Brighton 30, 40, 50 years, it's incredible. And just even this past week, I've been in planning meetings for 2025, which seems so tedious and terrible in any other company. But here it was exciting. Like, we're going to grow, we're going to do this. And my brain hurt, but I was so excited. And I think their products, like, you can really gear it towards the store you want to sell to, or the person coming into the store that you want to sell to. It's just a really interesting company that cares about their employees, cares about their people, and the story of how it started. And I'll give you like a 10-cent tour. Jerry Cole and his girlfriend at the time, Terry Cole, which is very funny, it rhymes. They were in high school and they started a store called Something Special across the street from their high school in LA. And they started buying belts from this company called Legion. And at one point, they decided to buy the Legion company. So this company has never been owned or funded by anybody else besides Terry and Jerry, and maybe like their parents helped them at some point. But it's a privately owned company. Every employee has been there, honestly, for more than a decade, and it's just really it's eye-opening to see what that's like.
So obviously it has something to do with the culture of the company. So tell us about, how important the culture is, because whether you are a corporate executive or whether you're a salesperson, it's still part of culture. So talk about the culture.
So it's a very interesting place to work. After COVID, and obviously I didn't work there during COVID, but before COVID, there was a little wholesale area, and Jerry, the owner and founder, had his office kind of where I sit. And after COVID, he kind of felt like, I don't want to be stuck in a little room with a door. I want this big open space. So he purchased the building on the other side of the warehouse and made this their retail area. So now his office is this giant conference room that you have to walk by. And it's like if he's having a meeting with the CFO and I walk by to go drop something off in that area, he'll call me in and I'll get to sit and learn something about what the CFO is doing, or I'll get to learn about what the retail partners are doing. And he likens this campus to Disneyland. He says, like, bring stores here. We have a building called the museum and it's set up like a mall. So every room houses another and very different part of the company. And so it's very interesting. Nothing is hidden. Every data point that they share at retail, they share at wholesale. It is completely transparent. If he's saying I'm spending $1 million on this new charm bar and I happen to be in the room, he's not like, oh, don't say anything. Like we don't want that to get out. I mean, he will. It's that kind of culture where it's very open and transparent makes me feel very cared for. Like nobody is hiding something from you. You're not being like, sly on the side. It's just, I've worked for companies where their direct to consumer site and stores compete with their wholesale division. And it's a really sad time that like they're not sharing the information. They don't want to be, helpful to each other. They want to compete. And here it's not like that at all.
So he's basically empowering all of you, and you in turn get to empower your team. So how does it
Yeah.
feel to be somebody that gets to take these people and bring them into the fold and encourage them to do their best and they stay? Because if the tenure of the company is at least a dozen years, that speaks volumes as well.
So I think my team, actually, many people on my team have been there for more than 5 years. I have two people on our team that we literally called mom and dad because one has been there for 34 years and one has been there for 32 years. They've been there since they were in their late 20s. So they kind of know everything. And then at the same time, kind of know nothing because they are the people that have learned the systems and the integrations and everything at the very beginning where we've evolved quite a bit and they've kind of stayed. So it's very interesting for me to come in and be able to teach them things that I've learned just sitting with Jerry, in his giant room and seeing people come in and saying like, oh, I designed this bracelet last night thinking about Paul McCartney because Jerry loves music. So that gets my team excited, like, oh, I know my store loved the Beatles. And, some of our customers are a little bit older where they potentially could have gone and seen the Beatles like live, when they were touring. So it's kind of just, you get to take all that information from what you learn and really turn it into like coaching and mentoring where you're not doing their job, but you're encouraging them to do it with all the tools and things that we have readily available.
It's exciting, and I remember when you first got the position, I have a Brighton bag from when I was in sales, which is so funny because I really, really, really wanted this bag, but I really, really, really didn't want to buy it myself. And when I told the one of the companies that we were selling for, He said, well, where's the bag? And I said, it's a Brighton bag. He said, well, where do I get it? I said, at the Brighton store. And he said, okay. And he buys me this bag. And then everybody else wanted it. But I was the only one that got the color that I have. And I still use it.
Yeah.
So and it's so funny because there's so many things that I have from Brighton. So this stuff is amazing and it lasts. It's incredible.
Well, and we do these events in LA, and I have the fortunate, like, I don't know, like life that I live here. So I get to be part of every event, whether I want to be part of it or not. Like
Yeah.
I'm learning that Brighton does everything at the last minute. So like I'm sometimes called in to help like write a class or, help plan an event that I had no idea I was doing. But, it's really interesting that anything that we do, happens at this crazy warehouse that we have. And okay, so I have these events that happen all the time. Well, we had a customer event and I was one of the tour guides. So I got to take them through. And of course, everything that's happening is new for me too. I honestly know nothing about what we do. Well, any time you buy a handbag, and I'm not talking like a wallet or like a little bag, but a real handbag, we clean it. We call it the spa. And I got to see it firsthand. You register your handbag with the store. Brighton does it for you, or at a specialty store. You bring the handbag in, you send it in, they clean it, they wash it, they blow dry it, they give it a curl, and it's like back to you. It looks like a brand new bag. So your bag, let's say the wheels fell off or the leather started ripping, you would send it in and they would basically send you a brand new bag.
That's great.
And that's something they stand by their product.
So let me just say mine still looks brand new,
Yeah, I'm sure.
which is even better. Okay, I have a question for you. The fashion industry is definitely, it's fast paced, it's always evolving, always, always, always. There's a new trend coming out every 3 minutes. How do you personally stay grounded among what we'll call the chaos? Because things do change and sometimes you get caught up in it and thinking like, how am I supposed to do this now?
In terms of product, I mean, we have 11 in-house designers that if somebody said like, actually perfect example, yesterday I was sitting in a meeting and somebody said, oh, the Pantone color of 2025, which is, every year there's a brand new color
Right.
that comes out that you focus on, is chocolate mousse. So if we had been in that meeting and Jerry had seen that, he could say to a designer really quickly, like, chocolate mousse is the color of 2025. What you got? Like, bring me all your ideas. And then they would be able to like literally turn product around in 2 or 3 weeks. So everything is ever changing. I do think though that Brighton customers, even the more contemporary younger customers, tend to feel like Brighton is traditional and very classic. And so we don't always go with the trends. Like you're not going to see like fast fashion. There's a very girly kind of thing happening now with bows. Bows are having their moment. Pink is having their moment. Pearls. So we do a bow, but bows are never going to go out of style. They might
Right.
not be as popular. So
Right.
we're focusing on the things that we feel are very, very trendy right now and making sure that those, get in the forefront of the stores.
Okay. So as a woman in a leadership role, are there any unique challenges that you personally face, whether it's Brighton, whether it's just personally or whatever, and how do you navigate when you have a challenge? What do you do? How do you overcome them?
Well, I mean, at Brighton, we are a team of 5 for management, and there's 3 men and 2 women. All 3 men had been account executives and reps there before. So they kind of had like a leg up. So anytime, like even just this past week, I feel like sometimes a little silly having to ask questions so much, and it's like, oh, she's new, or she's a she or whatever, and they never make me feel like that. They each have their different levels of management tenure at Brighton, but I think it's really important that you keep your head on straight. You're not emotional in every situation. You don't really have to bring a lot of drama into solving a problem. And I think that's where a lot of people tend to think like women in management could potentially bring emotions and drama. And, it's sometimes more, I hate to say it, the opposite. because we can problem solve very quickly and we have a lot of hands in different pots. And I think I have run into issues and I think I've solved them mostly gracefully.
Awesome. So if you were talking to women in general, what kind of advice can you give someone who's trying to build stronger relationships, whether it's in, in their career or in business itself or just with friends? Because you do build great relationships, and we all know that. So what advice would you give them? Something practical that they could do?
I mean, I think you would agree that I don't know a stranger. I mean,
That is true.
I get pulled out of the grocery store, like, you do not need another friend, like, stop. And I think, like, I sometimes just strike up conversations with people waiting in line, like, oh, I'm coming to your house for dinner. You've got, like, whatever you have in your cart. And I think that's where a lot of people don't, I don't know. I think they fail at this, and maybe fail is not the right word, but I learn people. What's your dog's name? What did you have for dinner? What shoes are you wearing? Like, where's your favorite place to go? I like, oh, you had steak. Did you go here? What did you have with it? Or like, I like your shoes. Like, when's your birthday? Just a connection of some sort. And that's how I was always so successful in opening stores, because I would go in and be like, oh my God, I think, this wall is gorgeous. I'd love to, where did you get this? And I would love those jeans. And I could see it with this pair of shoes. Or, you just have to make that connection. People
Yeah.
don't want to, whether it's in business or not, they don't want to feel like an ulterior motive. They want to feel important. And even if you don't mean it, which most people do, it's like, I want to make that connection. I want to continue that friendship, that relationship.
It's interesting. I mean, obviously, you're your mother's daughter. We know that. But I always tell people that I'd rather be interested in them than interesting to them. And I do it with asking questions. I ask a lot of questions. And sometimes people roll their eyes because I have more questions to ask. But don't you think that that's the best way to get to know somebody, is by asking questions? And not just, it doesn't have to be really involved questions, and doesn't have to be something silly, but it's just asking questions like over and over, just trying to find out about them.
Well, I mean, I get a lot of eye rolls because I ask a lot of questions. I mean, I get it from Ben, and I get it from my boyfriend, I get it from people, I get it. They're like, don't, like, how do you not know? It's like, no, this is how you learn. You inquire to learn about things. I'm interested. I want to know. Like,
Right.
even in our meetings all week, it was like, I have a question. And they're like, oh my God, like, another question. I'm like, look, I can do it incorrectly and not ask, or I can do it correctly and ask. But even like, what did you eat last night? I had room service. I'm like, yeah, what'd you have? Like, I like to learn people. I like
Yeah.
to know, and you can read people really quickly, but it's nice to get kind of like a confirmation. And then there's people that are like, oh my God, you're asking about me. Like, why aren't you talking about you? It's like, I don't want to talk about me. I know me. I want to find out about you. And so I feel like that really is important. Asking questions is important. And if somebody doesn't want to answer your questions, then they're not for you.
They're not your people.
They're not your people.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God, it's like talking to myself. So, okay, so talking about yourself, if you could go back to your younger self, because we
Well,
always like to do this, what's one piece of advice you would give yourself, knowing what you know today?
stop reacting quickly. Take that 10-second, like, count to 10 and see what you can come up with. There's been multiple times, and not at Brighton, but at other jobs, that I've wanted to fire off an email, whatever, to whoever it was, to that, maybe rubbed me the wrong way, or didn't understand what I was saying, or, just generally wasn't nice. And I feel like I I stopped. It wasn't professional. I don't want that to come back to me at some point. And I think really just taking a step back and looking at the situation, you might get a different outlook.
Sage advice, my darling, sage advice. So if you could point one thing, what would you want the listeners to take away from this conversation? Because it really is about how you lead with your heart and your determination, which is really important as a leader. So what's the one thing that you would like them to take away from this?
I think I've learned, like, at Brighton for sure, that, and this comes from the top, you don't always need to go in and get a dollar. You don't always need to go in and make sure that, you're making your goal. you need to go in and make sure that that person 10 years from now, when they're going through something tough, can rely on you. And I think that you need to look at people as people. Again,
Mhm.
if it's not your people, you just move along. But those people will appreciate the fact that you took the time to not look at them like an ATM machine. And obviously I'm using work as an example, but they care. We opened a beautiful new store in a territory last week that had $1 million hole. And we know that this woman can do a lot of business. And I've known her, she's bought from me for years, but my rep really went for it. And we sent her cookies with her logo on it. That's all we did. We did not send a card. I mean, we didn't send like a big gift. We just sent cookies with a little note. And she was over the moon. She reposted it on social media. She is going to kill it, in her own way. But like, it's just really taking the time to get to take care of people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And in good times and bad times.
Yeah, for sure. I think
Yeah.
more importantly in bad times.
Yeah. But people forget, they forget about you when things are not going well because if you go in there, you're not going to sell anything, you're not going to do anything. So people just forget about you. And it
Yeah.
happens all the time, which is very sad. Okay,
Yeah.
I have a funny question for you. Okay, so
Okay.
many, 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 many years ago, we were driving in the car,
You and I? Oh,
me, and PJ, your brother, and it was Mother's Day. And the DJ was saying, let's talk about mommyisms. What did you learn from your mom? And PJ said, who sings that? Because that's what I would always do on the radio. And you said, I can do anything I want in my life. So what is something that you learned from me that you still use in your life today?
oh, this is so hard.
Just one thing.
I mean, I like everything. What is that? What did you say? Like, don't laugh at me. I can't use a computer. I taught you how to use a spoon. Like,
Yeah.
just anything. Like, talking to people, funny face, just really like, I don't know, just anything. Like when I think of you and like my favorite times, it's like fuzzy socks, sitting on the couch watching. I like Law and Order, you like Hallmark movies, but I don't have like a true saying of what you would do. I mean, you say every time Lay Down Sally comes on the radio, I think of you. Every time I hear Hey Jude, I think of you. I mean, it's just like everything.
So is there anything that you learned as far as career-wise that you think has helped you?
From you? Yeah, I mean, you were always a really, really like busy businesswoman. You never just sat around. You never let somebody take care of you. You always made sure that had your own life, your own business. Yeah, you taught us how to be. You had definitely taught PJ how to be an entrepreneur, which I don't have any interest in being, but I feel like it was always good to know like you have a job, you have your own money, you're busy, you don't just sit around. Even though there are days that I would love to just sit around, you just don't. And I think I definitely learned, that from you. I'm pretty sure I had my first job was, I don't know how old I was, but was at Dinky Dye, boutique
Wow.
in Madison. I think I was probably like 14 years old and probably wasn't allowed to work. But
They're no
I
longer in
worked.
business, not to worry.
Yeah, don't worry. And oh yeah, disclaimer. Um, but she was I have no idea. She was Australian. She had these cool earrings. And I think after that, I just absolutely loved working. I loved working. I've never not had a job.
Yeah,
Even
that's
if I
true.
win the lottery, I would have a job.
Well, I remember a lot of your friends' moms, or a lot of my friends would say, how do you get her to work? I'm like, I don't get her to work. She wants to work. She's going to work. She wants to be able to buy things.
Not
So,
only that, like I actually enjoyed it. Like,
yeah,
sure, everybody complains. Like nobody wants to work on a Sunday night at 9 o'clock in a restaurant, but it's fun. You get to meet people, you make
yeah,
friends. Like I loved serving. I loved working at the ice cream shop. I've loved almost every job I've ever had because of the people.
yeah. And that's what makes it. So,
Yeah.
what are you most excited about for 2025?
Business wise,
Whatever. It's just a question.
I think like I'm super excited that I'm almost past my 6 months where I feel like my brain is getting a little bit less full and I can start using the tools and stuff that I've been taught at Brighton. I'm excited, for the year to come where I've now now I will be planning this year with my team. This whole thing is mine with them. So if we succeed, it's ours. And if we fail, it's ours together. And also, I'm excited for my commitment ceremony. That makes me very excited. And yeah, just there's a lot of stuff happening, and I think it's all good.
Absolutely, absolutely. So where can our listeners learn more about you and, and connect with you?
I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. I always read my messages. So if anybody ever wanted to send me a message or have a question about Brighton or just fashion or sales in general, relationship building, you can always reach me on LinkedIn. Um, I'm on Facebook. I mean, I've never been on TikTok in my life. I've never been on Twitter. I'm not going to start now, but you can reach my mother there and she can reach me.
I have never been on TikTok ever. So,
No, I've
no.
never.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, anybody that wants to send a message on LinkedIn, I'm available.
well, that's good. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I know this has been a very busy week for you, and I'm so glad that we planned this ahead so we could
Yes.
get this in because this is the last show of the year and it's with
Okay.
you. So that's my favorite
Yay.
thing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate you and I love you.
I love you too. And thanks for having me. Let's do it again.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining us today on Selling Your Skirt with Judy Hoberman. We are so excited to bring you amazing guests. And so look for us next time, and we'll see you soon.